You've heard earlier on today, the UK inflation rate has dropped below 10% for the first time in 8 months. Official figures show the rate at which prices rose in April was 8.7%, down from 10.1% in March. Food price inflation dropped slightly, but remains a concern, according to the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt.
These numbers show there is absolutely no room for complacency in the battle against inflation. Food price inflation is still worryingly high. That's why we've had food producers, farmers in supermarkets in to talk about what we can do to reduce the pressure there.
Well, the rate at which grocery prices rose slowed marginally in the year to April, but at 19.1%, it's close to record highs. Inflation's, of course, a measure of the cost of living, and to calculate it, the Office for National Statistics keeps track of the prices of hundreds of everyday items, known as a basket of goods. Well, that rate has shot up over the last 18 months as food and energy prices have soared, leaving many households feeling really squeezed. Vicky Brownridge is the chief exec of the debt charity Step Change.
We're seeing an increasing number of people who, once we've gone through a budgeting process with them, they've nothing left to pay beyond their household bills, or actually they're in a negative budget situation. All different backgrounds, all different income levels. So we're actually seeing more people who are already employed, already working full-time, where there's really no option for them to increase their income.
Well, experts have been quick to point out that a slow rate of inflation doesn't mean prices are coming down, just that they're not going up as quickly. One reason for the fall is that energy price rises are slowing from the extreme hikes seen a year ago, just after Russia, a major oil and gas producer, invaded Ukraine and was hit, as you know, with sanctions. Experts have been quick to point out as well that, as I say, a slow rate of inflation doesn't mean that prices are coming down necessarily anytime soon. One reason for the fall is that those energy prices are slowing. And Emma Franklin-Keogh is from Clockwise Credit Union in Leicester. Emma, hi.
Hi.
And also Jennifer Thomas from the Federation of Small Business joins us too. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Ben.
Emma, first of all, just to look at that, the reduction in the rate of inflation still means stuff's going up.
Yeah, it's just what you just said, that things are still going up. They're just not going up quite as quickly as they were going up before. I mean, I think everyone's been shocked by kind of the income. The thing I hear most often, and again, it's from people through all walks of life, is that they can't believe how much everything's costing at the moment. And I'm sure you said it to friends and family and everyone said it. And it's exactly that. The increase, it's still going up. It's just not quite as rapid. I think the one that people feeling the most, as I said, is food inflation at 19.1 in April. It's come down a little bit from 19.2 in March, but that is still a 19.1 increase in your food bills is still a very large increase for people to manage.
It's felt a bit like, it's why, sunny today, you see people's mood rise slightly. It feels like it's been a long autumn, winter and spring, hasn't it? With, every week you go to do the shop and it's a bit more. People have no room left to accommodate that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever wiggle room people had, in late 2022, that they're about wiggled into the end of what they can do. We're seeing again people making those very hard decisions around what they can do with their budgets. People then starting to make hard decisions about the bills that they've got coming in and out of their home. It's a very rough ride, particularly when people are on limited incomes, and that's where we started to be concerned. If you remember back when the energy crisis first started, we were concerned about people on limited incomes, but it's also creeping into people like the lady said, they're on full-time jobs. It's now affecting everyone in all walks of life.
And that's where this is perhaps most unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those moments where I looking at the position that we're all in, it is very difficult for a majority of households now.
Jennifer, you're from the Federation of Small Business. What's it meant to small businesses?
Well, today's announcement is helpful. It's good news. It's a bit of a start, but this has been going on for an extremely long time, and we've talked many times about the challenges which businesses have been facing. And the cost of living crisis comes down to a cost of doing business crisis. So for small businesses, I think they'll hear this announcement today and might think, oh, that's a positive story. But it's not as low as we hoped. We had hoped the inflation report would actually come out a bit lower, and it's absolutely nowhere near the target of inflation, which is 2%. So what we're really hoping, and what small businesses across the county will be hoping, is to see far larger drops in the coming months of inflation, because inflation affects their own input costs. It affects, the prices that they have to offer, but also the margin that they're able to make. But it also affects the pockets of their customers who don't have the spending power to come and support them as much.
It's interesting. Many businesses find themselves in all sorts of different sectors kind of caught between a rock and a hard place, don't they? We spoke to a cafe owner on the show 2 or 3 weeks ago who made the point that everything that she buys has gone up, exponentially. Vast rises. I can't remember the exact number, but even on tomatoes, it was like 2 or 3 times what she used to pay. And then she made the point, but I can't put that onto a sandwich for lunch because people won't spend that sort of money.
And think about what else that cafe is facing. So all of, cheese, bread, milk, we've seen all of the costs of those items have gone particularly high. And you've mentioned food inflation itself hasn't really changed. So that is particularly affecting hospitality and food businesses. But even then, imagine the cafe, they're still paying very high business rates. They're still paying very high energy costs. They're still paying rent. So it's that combination of everything together. And yet, in particular, that hospitality and food businesses are finding their customers can't afford to buy as much as they could. And their costs in particular are really being impacted.
Emma, do you see any kind of silver lining, any sunshine over the horizon from these figures released today?
It's very difficult because had it been a year ago, I wouldn't have thought we'd have seen food inflation at 19.1%. I would hope that it's coming down in the right direction. I would hope particularly they're looking at further interest rate rises to try and cool the economy a little bit, which means people that can save will be making that a little bit more on their savings. It does make the cost of borrowing that little bit more. But, there are things that are in play that hopefully will, again, look to cool inflation. But for families, it's how quickly that rolls down to the everyday person, to the more businesses that Jennifer was talking about, to the families that can go out and do their weekly shop. It's how quickly it gets back into people's pockets that is the worrying bit.
And Emma, what advice are you giving to people who come to you seeking advice?
I always keep those lines of communications open. If you do have bills or priority bills that you are concerned about, make sure you're talking to your suppliers. When you're looking at budgeting, as I said, budgeting is getting quite difficult now, but make sure that you know what's coming in, what's going out. And it sounds like one of the easiest things to do, but when you are in a position where things are difficult, it can be one of the scariest things to do, is to have a true look at what you've got coming in and out. And I think at these points, it's time to be brave and just be honest with yourself what's there. But always talk to your suppliers and have a looking at a good budget. And if you can't do it yourself, there are people out there that can help. People like, Step Change. We have, you can talk to your banking provider. If you look after it, come to us, you can speak to us. So I would say to, speak to people.
Jennifer, very briefly, from you as well, is there any brightness on the horizon?
Well, funnily enough, despite all of these challenges that small businesses face, we've just surveyed our members and their confidence has gone up in the last quarter. They've gone through an enormous amount over the last few years, Brexit, political upheaval, everything else. So they still have that confidence and that desire to do well. There are business organisations, there is a free advice out there. FSB's got lots of information on our website, which is open to everybody. You don't have to be an FSB member. Lots of guidance about finance, and go to business events. Go and meet your other other small businesses. And as Emma said, speak to your suppliers. We want businesses to be able to renegotiate their energy contracts, and we want them to get paid on time by bigger businesses and be paid fairly. But there is support out there, and hopefully small businesses can see easier times in the months ahead.
Thank you so much, both of you, for your time this evening. It's really valuable. Thank you so much. We'll talk again really soon. That's Jennifer Thomas from the Federation of Small Business and Emma Franklin-Keogh from Clockwise Credit Union in Leicester. You'll find more of that, of course, on the BBC News pages with more analysis. It's 20 past.